Prince Harry has spoken candidly about the breakdown of his relationship with his father and other members of the royal family.
What if everything you thought you knew about Prince Harry, the rebel royal, the soldier, the spare, was just the surface of something far more painful, personal, and hidden? Something wasn't right that night. The story that followed goes far beyond a tragic accident. There was a gap in the official narrative that kept us turning our heads, searching for answers. In the early hours in the Pont de l'Alma tunnel in Paris, a car sped into darkness carrying none other than Princess Diana. But why that speed? What force propelled that vehicle into catastrophe? And who truly hovered in the shadows? As the wreckage cooled, the world awaited a simple answer. Instead, 1,000 questions emerged. When Princess Diana died over 25 years ago, the world lost more than a princess. It lost the voice of compassion. She wasn't just royalty. She was the people's guide, a figure who reached into hospitals, orphanages, HIV care centers with warmth and authenticity. She had no guardrails around her empathy, rather she made them unnecessary. But what many didn't see was the same fire she used to comfort others burning fiercely within her. She was a protective mother determined to shield her sons from being trapped inside palace walls. Hook. Yet cracks were forming beneath that fierce resolve, cracks that night in Paris revealed. Born Diana Spencer on July 1st, 1961, she grew up amid aristocratic privileges and deep instability. Her parents' troubled marriage ended in divorce when she was young. Known for heartbreak, the home she called refuge often felt like battlefield. Raised alongside 2 sisters and a brother, she was the youngest vocalist of grace. She later attended Riddlesworth Hall and West Heath in Norfolk, schools where she blossomed quietly, nurturing a shy love of music and dance. These early passions would later become her private sanctuary. After finishing her education in Switzerland, Diana moved to London, taking a job at a kindergarten. That was the moment a future princess began to see herself not through royal tradition, but through the laughter of children and the sparkle in their eyes. Meeting Prince Charles in 1977, initially as a rather awkward return date after he had been seeing Diana's sister, she found herself thrust into a whirlwind. Hook. By summer 1980, a connection had been rekindled, and despite their 13-year age gap, a courtship began under relentless public gaze. Engaged in February 1981, she wore an 18-carat sapphire ring, a jewel echoing royal history, presented with a note of deep affection that many later questioned. On July 29, 1981, in a ceremony watched by nearly 1 billion people, Diana became Princess of Wales. But fulfilling the duties of this title forced her into a gilded cage. The world saw her beauty, but Diana was complex. A woman seeking purpose beyond protocol. She discovered it in humanitarian work, holding AIDS patients' hands, challenging stigma, visiting homeless shelters. She became iconic, not for style, though she defined it, but for presence. She danced with John Travolta at the White House, a joyful moment later revealed as part of secret ballet lessons. Her way to self-expression and emotional release. Hook. These dance classes, kept hidden for 9 years, offered Diana a sanctuary, an escape from royal expectations, an intimate portrait recently revealed in a new documentary, adding layers to her narrative. Yet behind the smiles lay turmoil. Her marriage fractured under its own weight. Infidelity, manipulation, and emotional distance. The infamous 1995 Panorama interview, where she spoke candidly of her feelings, later became infamous again when it emerged that the BBC used forged documents to secure her trust. A new expose, Diana-rama, deception, entrapment, cover-up, reveals 10,000 pages of internal memos exposing Martin Bashir's deceit, and how this betrayal deepened Diana's insecurities and shaped her emotional world. Hook. The ripple effect of that deceit may have made her more cautious, more haunted, and ultimately key to the final tragic scene. In 1996, Diana and Charles finalized their divorce. She emerged as an extraordinary single mother, still spotlighted but now with greater control over her own story. That summer of 1997, she stepped away from royal constraints, spending 10 days sailing the Mediterranean with Dodi Al-Fayed, son of billionaire Mohammed Al-Fayed. Hook. On August 31st, they returned to Paris, slipping into the Ritz on Rue Saint-Martin, hunted again by paparazzi, photographers armed with lenses and ambition. Later that night, in a decoy car, they sped away, driver Henri Paul attempting evasive maneuvers as cameras flashed in pursuit. It all went dark in about 3 seconds. The black Mercedes lost control, smashing into the 13th pillar inside the tunnel. Dodi and Paul died instantly. Diana was rushed to Pitié-Salpêtrière Hospital, where surgeons fought desperately to save her. At 4 a.m. on August 31st, 1997, she left us at just 36. Her bodyguard Trevor Rees-Jones survived, albeit with serious injuries. Official investigations in France and Britain later accepted Paul's intoxication, speed, and seatbelt negligence as the main causes, Operation Paget concluding it was an accident. Yet, unanswered puzzles lingered. Hook. There was no CCTV footage. The mysterious white Fiat Uno vanished, and witnesses recalled a sudden hush in the tunnel, almost too quiet. Conspiracy theories flourished. Mohammed Al-Fayed accused the royal family of orchestrating the crash, fearing the interracial relationship between Diana and Dodi. Richard Tomlinson, a former MI6 officer, whispered of intelligence agency plots using camera-blinding strobe lights. A 2011 documentary called Unlawful Killing, backed by Al-Fayed, claimed royal complicity but was silenced, shelved amid legal pressure. Meanwhile, Diana's premonitions, the letter she drafted to her former butler Paul Burrell warning of sabotage, remain haunting. Investigators dismissed her concerns as anxiety, but when Lombardy's silence meets archival whispers, a faint ember of doubt remains. Hook. What if her fears weren't mere paranoia? And yet, seatbelt blame was quickly laid at her feet, a convenient deflection. But remember, this is the woman who fiercely safeguarded her sons, who cherished their safety above all else. Would she really risk her own security so carelessly? Or was that narrative spun to obscure deeper truths? Still, every anniversary freshens the grief. Millions still gather flowers outside Kensington Palace. New docuseries like Who Killed Diana, set to premiere this August, promise rare interviews and voices from the edge. Voices that may shift the perspective on her death. Pandora's box of media manipulation continues to crack open. BBC documents show how that interview scandal played a part in her unraveling soul. So where does that leave us now? A woman who transcended her royal title, beloved, charitable, and unshakably human, met an end that still feels unexplained. We don't just want to know who was driving. We want to know who silenced the compassion of a woman who reached across every divide. We want to understand how a princess became a messenger of change and died with questions still echoing in the dark. The heartbreak that swept across the world in the wake of that night in Paris has never truly faded. It's as if time stopped for a moment, and though the years have moved forward, the questions surrounding Diana's final hours remain frozen in collective memory. Despite countless investigations and official conclusions, a heavy sense of unresolved truth still lingers, like a shadow refusing to lift. Many simply couldn't accept that such a monumental loss had such an ordinary explanation. A car crash, a drunk driver, an unfortunate twist of fate. That version of events felt too neat, too dismissive of the weight Diana carried in life, and the impact she had in death. Among the most vocal skeptics was Mohammed Al-Fayed, father of Dodi Al-Fayed, who was with Diana that night. Mohammed insisted it wasn't an accident, but something orchestrated, a deliberate attempt to prevent the possibility of Diana marrying a Muslim man, perhaps even carrying his child. According to Al-Fayed, the British establishment could not allow such a scandal to enter the royal bloodline. He claimed Diana was pregnant, that the couple was about to announce their engagement, and that their union posed a threat to the monarchy's image. These claims took hold quickly, in part because of the puzzling elements that surrounded the crash. Some pointed to Henri Paul, the driver, and questioned the narrative of him being intoxicated. Was he really drunk, or was that story a convenient cover? Others speculated he might have had ties to intelligence agencies, British, French, or both. Then there was the strange absence of CCTV footage from the tunnel where the crash occurred. 16 cameras, not a single one functioning. That void opened the door to one of the most persistent theories, that a flash of light had been used to blind the driver moments before the crash. Multiple eyewitnesses claimed they saw it. François Levistre, a French motorist, said he noticed a flash in his rearview mirror just as the car entered the tunnel. An American tourist, Brian Anderson, offered a similar account. The idea that something interfered with the car at the last second ignited imaginations worldwide. But Levistre's credibility quickly came under fire. He'd been convicted of fraud in the past, and his own wife disputed his version of events. Other witnesses saw nothing unusual. A thorough reconstruction of the crash concluded there was no physical evidence of any flash or staged interference. It determined the car lost control even before it entered the tunnel. A sobering reminder that sometimes the most tragic answers are the simplest. Then, in 2013, another chilling detail emerged. A former SAS soldier identified only as Soldier Ian claimed that members of his unit were involved in Diana's death. His statements surfaced during an unrelated military trial and quickly revived public suspicion. The UK responded by launching Operation Paget, a sweeping investigation intended to lay all the theories to rest once and for all. Led by the Metropolitan Police, the operation began in 2004 and took nearly 3 years to complete. Investigators combed through everything, from Diana's own letters expressing fears about her safety to the smallest fragments of evidence surrounding the crash. When their findings were finally published in 2006, they echoed the conclusion of the original French inquiry. No conspiracy, no foul play. The crash, they said, was caused by a driver under the influence and a tragic chain of poor decisions. Still, public belief is rarely swayed by official reports. People remembered Diana's handwritten note, ominously predicting that she feared someone was planning to tamper with her car. And when Paul Burrell, Diana's trusted butler for over a decade, began to speak openly after her death, those suspicions only deepened. Burrell was more than just a servant. Diana had called him her rock. He'd been with her during some of the most turbulent years of her life, watching closely as she tried to hold herself together in a world that was, at times, painfully isolating. According to Burrell, Diana often felt trapped and mistrustful, constantly questioning the motives of those around her. That isolation took a toll. He spoke candidly about her struggles with an eating disorder, the pressure of public life, and the emotional wounds left by her deteriorating marriage to Prince Charles. Though their wedding had captured the imagination of an entire generation, the reality was far less magical. Diana was haunted by the presence of another woman in their marriage, Camilla Parker Bowles. In her now iconic interview, she described it plainly. There were 3 of us in this marriage. Burrell's recollections brought those quiet moments of heartbreak to the surface, revealing just how much Diana had carried alone. But what struck people most wasn't just her vulnerability, it was her quiet strength. Behind the palace walls, Diana showed a resilience that few saw. She poured her energy into causes no one else in her position dared touch. And she did so quietly, without the press, without spectacle, just compassion. Burrell described how she tried to shield her sons, William and Harry, from the glare of royal life. She planned secret outings for them, sneaking out of the palace for brief glimpses of normalcy. After Diana's passing, Burrell released a memoir titled A Royal Duty. His decision to publish the book was controversial. Some saw it as a betrayal. Others saw it as an act of love, an attempt to preserve her truth. He insisted it was the latter, that he wanted people to remember the real Diana, not just the headlines. Yet, not everyone believed him. Critics accused Burrell of exploiting her memory, of blurring the lines between loyalty and opportunism. As whispers echoed through the decades, the paternity rumors surrounding Prince Harry refused to fade into silence. His striking red hair, so similar to James Hewitt's, had long fueled a media obsession. An obsession Harry blamed not just on superficial similarities, but on the tabloid industry's relentless craving for scandal. Even more cutting was the memory of his own father, Charles, once cracking a joke about the speculation. It wasn't funny. To Harry, it was a casual cruelty, a reminder of just how isolating palace life could be, even within one's own family. The pain of that estrangement only deepened when he spoke of the moment that fractured his childhood. He was 12. His father, Prince Charles, entered his room at Balmoral and sat down, delivering the unthinkable news of Diana's fatal accident. What stood out to Harry wasn't just the words, but the coldness of the moment. No embrace, no collapse of grief, just a hand on the knee and a vague assurance that everything would be all right. But how could it be when everything had just fallen apart? Perhaps the most haunting memory was the funeral itself. The world watched two boys walk behind their mother's coffin, but few could imagine the internal battle each step demanded. Harry admitted he didn't want to do it, and neither did William. Their uncle Charles Spencer had objected too. But Harry, ever the younger brother trying to keep up, insisted on standing beside William. He knew William would have done the same. What the cameras couldn't capture that day was the silence, broken only by the clatter of horse hooves and wheels crunching over gravel. In the aftermath, grief didn't disappear. It simply went underground. For years, Harry entertained the belief that his mother had faked her death. The idea wasn't fantasy, he said. It was a survival mechanism. He even contemplated reopening the investigation with William, believing the paparazzi's role in the crash was never fully scrutinized. But their efforts were quickly shut down. During a 2007 visit to Paris, he asked his driver to recreate the route Diana took the night she died. The decision brought no peace. Only more ghosts. Looking for meaning where logic failed, Harry turned to a woman who claimed to connect with the spiritual world. He confessed this with no embarrassment. In some twisted way, he said, Camilla had once been the woman he and William agreed to tolerate, but not welcome. Their condition was clear. She could be with Charles, but not his wife. That line was crossed, and Harry had to recalibrate everything. He claimed Camilla wasn't just hungry for acceptance, she was strategic, even leaking private conversations to win public favor. In his view, she turned family tension into press advantage. He even suggested that both she and Charles weaponized details about his drug use to reshape their own public images. But William, too, bore hidden wounds. Harry revealed that his brother carried deep guilt for not confronting Charles about the affair sooner. That silence, Harry said, festered into resentment. And although he would never accuse Camilla outright, he did believe she played a significant role in the collapse of his parents' marriage. A collapse that, to Harry, marked the beginning of his mother's end. Still, Harry didn't speak in absolutes. He acknowledged that Charles had found joy with Camilla, even suggesting she might be less harmful when content. He didn't hate her. He feared her influence. When asked to be William's best man in 2011, he agreed, but clarified the role was mostly ceremonial. The speeches, he noted, were delivered by others. Perhaps he knew his own candor would be too volatile. There were signs, Harry believed, that his mother had helped bring Meghan into his life. One day, Meghan sang to Seals, and he swore they sang back. Soon after, she presented him with 2 pregnancy tests. Both were positive. They announced the news at Princess Eugenie's wedding, but joy was followed by grief. After Meghan's miscarriage in 2020, they buried their lost child under a jacaranda tree, quiet, sacred, and away from public eyes. Then came the breaking point. At Nottingham Cottage in 2019, William visited Harry. They argued. William called Meghan rude, abrasive, echoing the tabloids. Harry pushed back. The confrontation turned physical. William allegedly grabbed him, ripped his necklace, and shoved him onto a dog bowl that shattered beneath him. William apologized later, but the damage was done. Physically, emotionally, historically. When asked if he trusted William's declaration of love, Harry said quietly, "I wanted to. But I didn't." He insisted that their rift had begun long before Meghan. Even as children, he remembered William asking him not to acknowledge him at school. It had cut him deeply, and the scar never faded. Looking at William now, Harry saw a man who had changed. He described his brother's familiar frown and fading resemblance to their mother. It wasn't cruelty, it was observation. A reminder that time shapes us all, but not always in the same direction. And while the crown still casts its long shadow, Diana's legacy stretches far beyond the gilded gates. From comforting AIDS patients to walking landmine zones, she redefined what royalty could be. In Harry and William's charitable work, in their public service, that flame still flickers. A telling example lies in the lifestyle and empire of Meghan herself. Beyond the royal titles, she has built a brand around resilience and reinvention. Their Montecito estate, valued at over $14 million, includes lush gardens and a home studio. Meghan has driven everything from a Jaguar E-Type to a black Range Rover Evoque. Her accessory game includes luxury timepieces from Cartier and Audemars Piguet. She and Harry charter private jets, often criticized but reportedly offset by carbon initiatives. Meghan's ventures span Netflix, Spotify, and fashion, while insurance policies quietly protect their assets and health, guided by a team of elite advisors. The lesson? Visibility, values, and control, when balanced, can yield both financial freedom and cultural leverage. If this story moved you, challenged you, or made you rethink what it means to belong, don't forget to like, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more untold narratives behind the public lives we think we know.